Good morning, students. We've got a fairly quick video for you on this second server challenge that we've thrown out to you. Hopefully you were okay setting up your validate session file. So let's see what the prompt is for this challenge. So Bron says, in our animal controller, let's make a new create endpoint that should save all the data from the animal model to the database, including number of legs, Boolean predator value, and its name. And that's all specified in your animal model already. Those three properties, their types, their allow null, Booleans, all of that. If the animal is correctly saved in the database, inform the user, otherwise alert the user if there's an error. Okay, so we've already got our imports ready to go. In index.js, I did set up a couple of things. I set up my app.use on the validate session. So we're not guarding the user endpoints, but we are guarding the animal endpoints. Those are the protected routes. We also had to do an import on the animal controller so that we could use that down here in line 16. And that's all that I changed in index, I believe. Didn't touch DB, didn't touch the user controller. However, I did, for the sake of making sure that I've got good sample data, that everything is done uniformly, I did, before I started to play around with this, delete my users. I'll delete my users again so I can show you where I started from. Rationale for that is that yesterday we were tinkering with our user controller file, and I'm not sure where we left things off. You guys will want to make sure that your user controller file is complete before you start this challenge. And if you haven't done that, I would pause the video, grab the code that you need on screen. There's your create method. Here is most of your login method. You can pause that. Here's the rest of the login method. Then delete the users you've already got in the database before you proceed forward with this challenge. Just to make sure that everything's working, that validate session isn't going to break on you, as it's expecting a certain type of user to come through before we get to the animal controller. Okay, so I guess 3 changes. I said 1, but 3. Validate session needs to be in here. So we updated that code. Hopefully I slacked that out earlier. Index.js had an animal import, use of validate session, use of the animal controller, and let's see. Oh, and then deleting the users in the database is the 3rd item. Okay, all right, so with all that squared away, let's make sure that we are good to go in the bronze challenge. So this is a create, pretty straightforward. So we're going to use our router that we've already imported and fired off from Express. This is a post. We need our path. Well, to get here, we need /animal at the end of our path. So I'm going to do /create here. And then we'll make our express function that grabs the request and the response. We want to do something with those things. So we want to use our animal model to define what we create in a database. Animal.create is a built-in method from Sequelize for us. And I'm just going to assume that the request body matches the animal model format. So name, leg number, and predator with string, integer, and Boolean. So I can get away with just doing the following. I can say rec.body. Okay. An alternative would be to make an animal, and then make this long object. Name comes from rec.body.name. Leg number comes from rec.body.leg number. And what was the 3rd? Predator comes from rec.body.predator. Okay, could do that, and then you could create the animal here. But if the request body matches your animal format, you don't have to do that. So let's shorten this to just rec.body. And so that gives us back a promise with either an error or the animal that got created. So if we have an animal created, we want to fire off a response saying, hey, everything worked okay. Here's a JSON object matching the animal that was created. If there's an error, we'll catch that. And we will send back a 500 status code with that error appended. So I think we're ready to go. We need to So to get to the animal controller, recall that we have to pass through validate session. Validate session is going to look for an authorization header that should have your session token. So my first point in testing is not to do an update, in this case on a cat. Where is it? I want to do a user create. And I've already got some sample data set up here. So it's a post /user /create. Want to make sure my server is running. It is. So I'll send this. And I see a new user. Okay, great. I need to grab this session token and replace my old header with this new session token here. Okay. Now, with that session token, I should be good to get past the validate session bouncer, and I can change this to animal /create instead of user /create. In my data, I don't want username and password. That was name of the animal. Let's do kitty cat. Leg number, pretty sure they have 4 most of the time. And predator, yeah, I think this is true. I think that's true. We'll send that through. And there's our kitty cat. Cool. Oh, actually, is that going to cause problems later? Well, I don't know. We'll find out. We've got a kitty cat. I don't know if this space between the words in the name is going to cause problems or not, but we'll figure that out. So we can see our first endpoint is working. If I intentionally break something, I get a 500. I get the error message. So our catch is working also. We're catching error messages here. Okay. All right. So on to the next. Silver says, make a delete endpoint that will delete an animal from the database. However you complete this challenge, a request must be able to specify which animal needs to be deleted. If the delete was successful, inform the user. Otherwise, alert the user to an error. Okay. Well, a few ways you can go about this. One way that's going to be like super specific about the animal to be deleted is to delete the animal by the ID in the database, which is fine. That's also a little bit impractical because if you've got someone different programming the client than is programming the server in the database, then, well, they've got to communicate super well about how to access animals by their ID. I guess that's not a great thing to say, but that's true. Alternatively, you can just make this simpler and you can say router.delete, and we can do delete, and then rather than using an ID, let's delete an animal by its name. Okay. Now this would have problems if you have multiple animals in the database with that same name. If you look at the animal model, we didn't put a unique constraint on the name. So we could have kitty cat, kitty cat, kitty cat. Delete is going to delete, I believe, the first instance of a kitty cat. So something to be aware of here too. So while ID to delete an animal is more specific, and you're guaranteed to get the one, as long as you know the ID of the animal you want, you're going to delete the animal you want to. This is probably a more practical way to do it, but it's going to have a little bit of trouble for duplicated named animals. So let's set up our express function with our request and our response. We'll do animal.destroy, and we need to specify which animal. So we'll pass through this options object as you see it being highlighted in VSC here. So we're going to say where the name of the animal comes from rec.params.name. Okay. Then once an animal is destroyed, that doesn't actually give us the animal data back that was destroyed, but just the number. So I'm going to say num destroyed is our input to the callback function. And let's send through a status code of 200 with a JSON object of the num destroyed. And then we'll catch any errors, and we'll say status code of 500, JSON object of the error. Okay, so let's check this out. Let's try this. I don't know if kitty cat's going to break this. So I'll change this to delete. and kitty space cat. And delete there, send 1. Oh, it worked. Okay, interesting. So I come back to the database. I don't think I ever showed that there was an animal originally there. There should have been. There's now no animal in the database. Sweet. And if I go with a name that doesn't match anything, if I name this thing a cat and send, I get 0 because there are no animals in the database with that name, right? And then let's try to break this. If I, oh, that's a little bit tricky. What if I do that? What happens? Error cannot, well, okay. So it's basically saying there is no animal, there is no endpoint that's just animal / delete /. All the delete endpoints expect something after this. So this is a no op. Okay, so on to finally our update endpoint that will let a request update animal data in the database. Like with the Silver Challenge, the request must be able to specify which animal needs to be updated. On success, inform the user. On failure, alert appropriately. Okay, so we're going to do router.put, and let's make our path update / with the name there. So we're going to update a specific animal name, rec res, and let's do animal.update. We have to have data to do the updating, so we do need a request body here. And if you hover over update, it'll say the values are the first things that it's taking, and then your options second. If you hover over destroy, it just takes options because it doesn't need values to destroy. It doesn't care. It just needs to know which one to delete. Update needs new values and the thing that it needs to make the changes on. So we can say where the name, just like before, rec.params.name, then num updated. It gives us back the number that were successfully updated. Res.status 200 JSON num updated. Let's catch errors. Res status 500 JSON error. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a new kitty cat. Let's just do cat this time. 4 legs, true. We need something to update in the database. Validation leg number cannot be null. Oh, need to change that to capital N. And I've got a new cat in the database. Let's see that real fast. Sweet, it's there. Okay, now to update. So I want to change this to update cat. I want to make this a put. Let's change. This is a post-apocalyptic cat. It's got 7 legs. And we see 1 animal got updated. Sweet. So come back, refresh. We see that here. And so let's see, how do we break this? We can try to break this by not appending any request body. Let's see what it does here. Update cat send. We get, oh, oh ho ho, oh ho 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 ho. Interesting. Okay, so I guess update out of the box, if you don't send it a request body, it's going to tell you that one thing gets updated even though no data gets changed. So that's probably coming from Sequelize. So we could go to the Sequelize docs and figure out why update is being a little bit wonky there. So it didn't break, it didn't send us down to the catch like I was hoping that it would do. But we can break it as follows. We can say, let's change name to names. Send. Oh, actually, that's not going to break it either. Oh, because, okay, if I change it to names, it's only going to read the keys that it cares for in the model. Well, it recognizes leg number and it recognizes predator, so it's going to update those. Let's show that explicitly. So this won't break it either. So if I change leg number back to 4, genetically okay cat, predator, let's change it to false. This is a very docile cat. And I change the names to lion, only the leg number and the predator are going to be updated here. So I see one thing got updated, 4 and false, and it's still a cat. It's not a lion. So the only things that get updated are the recognizable keys with their associated values. That doesn't match anything in the model of the animal model, so we don't see a lion for the name, we keep it cat. So how do I show off that this is breaking? Update, num updated. Might be, man, it might be so simple that, I can try the following. I can say we want to update the cat. Let's try to update a lion. What do we see? 0. Okay, yeah, still not technically breaking. We get 200, okay. 0 items got updated in the database because there is no lion in the database. Okay, all right, I think I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. Well done on this morning's challenge. You've got 2 more server challenges, 2 more days worth of icebreakers, and then we're going to be done with our icebreakers for Blue Badge. We're going to give you guys 2 weeks of more or less uninterrupted project work time. You need that time. You need to come in daily and bust butt. Keep it fun. Enjoy the process, but do work hard early so that later in the game, if you want to style the heck out of your project, you can do that. All right, guys. See you later.